This is a work I wrote titled Becoming a Better Person. And forewarning, it's a little bit dense, but be prepared. Becoming a Better Person. In a previous post titled Stepping Outside Current Events, I reasoned about topics such as immediacy, mediation, knowledge, and selfhood. I hope that I demonstrated how absorption into immediacy corresponds to reduced self-knowledge, which in turn corresponds to a less complete self. Someone cannot be a self until they have some grasp upon that self, like hands grasping a wheel. Knowledge, on its own regard, also requires mediation between old facts and new facts. But what if the facts in question were not just some information, but selves? Knowledge is a becoming, insofar as it reconciles the old with the new into a more complete understanding. So, it seems reasonable to think that self-knowledge is a self-becoming. What is special then about self-becoming is that the person can do so independent of observing another person. Self-becoming is not just copying the ideal being. In fact, pure copying is a pseudo-becoming. It is a pitfall of immediacy, where the person does not grasp the other they are trying to be. How then can self-becoming occur on its own? This is possible through mediation between the self and the non-existent self. That is, the independent self-becoming can occur through mediation between the self and the negated self. The negated self is nothingness, but in a way, it exists like an inhabitant without a house. Those absorbed into immediacy are like a house without an inhabitant. They are merely human. The negated self is, to use the prefix a in its negative form, the a-self. The a-self includes more than the self as a category. I am not really tall, and I am not really short. For all intents and purposes, the a-self is, as a category, one with infinite characteristics. Language makes my point clunky here, but I should clarify that the a-self does not contain the negations. Its contents are actually positives or assertions, but the whole of the category they occupy is negated. Think of how multiplying a positive by a negative produces a negative. Anyway, this brings us to an interesting deduction. The a-self contains paradoxes. One positive, I am tall, coexists with another positive, I am short. Typically, asserting one in the real world necessitates that the other is false, as is the case with contradictions. In other words, reasoning would reveal that at least one is not really a positive at all, but both are fully positive in themselves within the a-self. Of course, the person cannot become everything they're not because they cannot be a paradox. What they must instead do is learn what exactly needs to be. They must grasp who they are, and in so doing, grasp what they're not, and then barter with the a-self by exchanging a characteristic. For example, if I am short-tempered and I want to be patient, I should try to flip short-temperedness and patience from being non-being to non-being being, respectively. But how do I become a better person, you may ask? It may appear as if I've only explained what the process looks like, and I've not given the answer on how to effectuate said process. However, I'm of the opinion that a better understanding of the process is most of the solution. In other words, a better understanding of the problem is itself most of the answer. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to the exact steps needed for becoming a better person. But you shouldn't worry. If you know what self-improvement looks like, you've done most of the heavy lifting.